Peace, family. This is Lions Den with another news and commentary. This article comes from the Chicago Tribune. Wife speaks out about her husband, Jason Van Dyke, being beaten in Connecticut prison. The worst has happened. Again, this article comes from the Chicago Tribune. For the first time, his wife speaks out about her husband's condition in the Connecticut prison. You know, basically, she gets emotional what has happened to her husband, but yet when it comes to Laquan McDonald taking a life, they don't say a word. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this article, and this is what's so interesting about this story. It says, at turns tearful and defiant, the wife of former Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke told reporters Thursday morning how her husband was beaten in his prison cell shortly after being transferred from Illinois custody to a federal prison in Connecticut last week. My number one fear for my husband has always been his safety. It always has been that somebody is going to get him and hurt him, and the worst has happened, Tiffany Van Dyke said in the Loop office of her husband's lawyers. The attorneys were told February 5th that their client had been moved from a state correctional center to a federal prisons facility in Connecticut. 2 days later, shortly after he had been processed and moved into the general population, several people attacked him in his cell, lawyers Daniel Herbert and Tammy Went says. The mentally out there seems to be that people won't rest until he is either given a life sentence or killed in prison. And that's truly unfortunate, and it's certainly not what this system is about, Herbert told reporters. Let me stop you right there. What do you expect for them to do? You kill an unarmed 17-year-old teenager, Laquan McDonald, almost 20 times. And you're telling me that he shouldn't even he shouldn't, this is not what the system is about? Then what is the system is about? You know, the thing is that I'm glad he plead guilty, but how many other police officers that, got away with murder like this? And prisoners don't forget that. Inmates don't forget, especially black inmates. They won't forget what a police officer has done. Now, I'm surprised that they put him in the federal prison in the general population, and you don't think people remember who he is? So let me go ahead and continue to read this. It says, it was unclear why Van Dyke was transferred out of Illinois, where he had been held since he was sentenced to 81 months in prison last month. Maybe because, and I'm going to stop you right there, maybe because black inmates in the state of Illinois wanted him to come to their prison because they will give him a wake-up call, just like he did with Laquan McDonald. I'm just saying. And so they fear that may happen, so they agreed to move him from Illinois to Connecticut. So I'm going to continue reading this. It said Van Dyke was convicted in October of second-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery in the 2014 fatal shooting of Laquan McDonald. The former officer was held in isolation when he was in an Illinois prison, and his attorney said they were not aware of any security threats or any incidents that will prompt such a dramatic transfer. You don't know that. They're not going to tell the media that, but you really don't know that. And obviously, you got inmates won't forget of what officers did to them. They're not going to forget it. So I guess they fear that, gang members probably in prison. I'm just saying hypothetical, say, okay, oh, he's going to come to, bring him in. We got something for him. And they fear that they knew who that officer was. So they thinking, okay, we're going to move him to Connecticut because the Connecticut prison system ain't going to remember who he is. Wrong. So continue saying Illinois prison officials had declined to say whether he was being held, citing concerns for his safety should his location be revealed. On Thursday, a spokeswoman for the Illinois Department of Correction confirmed that Van Dyke has been moved out of state custody, but would not give any further information. Yeah, because obviously they know that he killed Laquan McDonald in cold blood. So the inmates, especially the black inmates, won't forget it. They said, bring him in, bring him in, bring him in so we got something for him. And you know that the GDs, the Vice Lords, all them Chicago gang members remember who Jason Van Dyke is. So they feared that they might do something to him while he was in prison. So they said, okay, we're gonna move him to Connecticut. People in Connecticut ain't gonna remember him. But what they failed to realize is that what happened to Laquan McDonald is nationwide. You know, you kill a 17-year-old black kid, and everybody knows about it. So it doesn't matter where they move. They can move to New York prison. They can move to Florida prison. Everybody know who he is. And they're trying to say, well, maybe if I can move to another location or another state, people may not recognize him. But guess what? They do recognize him because it's happened everywhere. So the Federal Bureau of Prisons website listed Van Dyke as now being held at Dansbury Federal Correctional Institution, a low to minimal security facility. Van Dyke was put in general population, attorneys said Thursday, but moved into a segregated unit after the attack. Yeah, they shouldn't. If they were concerned about his safety, they could have put him in a private cell, not in general population, because everybody will know who he is. So that's their first mistake. The first mistake they did was they thinking by moving him to Connecticut that he was safe, that nobody will know who he is. But what they failed to realize that this is a nationwide story. Matter of fact, it's a worldwide story. Everybody know what happened to Laquan McDonald by the hands of Jason Van Dyke. That's the first mistake. The second mistake was they put him in the general population. So when you put him in the general population, prisoners will remember who you are, and they also gonna say what they're gonna ask, why are you here? Blah blah blah. And if he even tell them why that he's here, that he killed a 17-year-old black teenager, guess what? Consequences will happen. I'm surprised they didn't do it. I'm surprised they didn't do nothing to him. When it comes to worse. So I'm going to continue on. It says on Monday, the state attorney general and the special prosecutors appointed to handle the case announced they will be challenging the legal reasoning behind the sentence in the Illinois Supreme Court. A move that, if successful, could significantly lead to the former officer's sentence. Yeah, because they know they want Jason Van Dyke free in the first place. Because, again, prisoners, inmates all across the country is remembering what happened to Laquan McDonald. And they're going to remember the cop that killed Laquan McDonald. So they're not going to forget that. They can put him in the Illinois prison. They can put him in, like I said, Connecticut prison, New York prison, California prison. They're not going to forget what this man did to Laquan McDonald. So they were trying to get him free, possibly house arrest, so they will have to deal with this problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue reading. It says after his conviction, but before sentencing, Van Dyke was being held in isolation at a Quad Cities area jail. The move was part of the arrangement Cook County has with other jails to move prisoners who are either high-profile, dangerous, or working as cooperating witnesses in other cases. Van Dyke was charged with murder the same day as the court order released of graphic dashboard camera footage that showed him shoot McDonald 16 times as the teen walked away from police while holding a knife in his hand. The video, released more than a year after October 2014 shooting, led to months of protests and continued political of Hevel. It prompted a federal investigation of the Chicago Police Department that concluded officers routinely violate the civil rights of minorities. Van Dyke isn't the first high-profile ex-police officer from Illinois to be attacked shortly after being moved into a federal custody. A month after his transfer to a federal Indiana prison for security reasons, Drew Peterson was attacked in March 2017 by a fellow inmate armed with a food tray in a dining area, according to authorities. Peterson, a former Bolingbrook police sergeant, was jumped in the chow hall of the maximum security facility in Terre Haute. The convicted murderer was not seriously injured, and he was temporarily moved to a segregated unit away from the prison's general population after the incident. Peterson, 65, was already serving a lenient prison sentence for the murder of his third wife when a downstate Illinois judge sentenced him in summer 2016 to an additional 40 years to a state prison for trying to hire someone to kill Will County State's Attorney Jane Glasgow. By that October, Illinois Department of Corrections officials began the process of moving Peterson from Menard Correctional Center in downstate Chester to federal custody. Peterson was transferred to the Terre Haute Federal Prison when he remains in late February 2017. At the time, Illinois prison officials declined to discuss the reason of his transfer. Documents later obtained by the Tribune through an open records request shown the agency was concerned his actions in his murder-for-hire plot posed an ongoing safety and security threat. Glasgow successfully prosecuted Peterson for the 2000 murder of his third wife, Kathleen Savio. Peterson's fourth wife, Stacy Peterson, disappeared in October 2017. Authorities said Peterson is a suspect in her disappearance. Peterson is eligible for parole in 2081. So, ladies and gentlemen, we all know why they moved Jason Van Dyke from Illinois to Connecticut. They knew because everybody know who he is. And they did the same thing with Drew Peterson. Everybody know who Drew Peterson is. And that's why they moved him to Indiana prison. But, you know, the wife now come out and feel like, I don't know what happened to my husband. Why has he been attacked? Well, tell that to Laquan McDonald's family. Tell that to Laquan McDonald's family where they lost his 17-year-old son because of him. You know, the difference is that at least Jason Van Dyke is still alive. Laquan McDonald isn't. So you think that the prisoners, it doesn't matter. This is a high-profile case on top of that. So you saying that prisoners, it doesn't matter what state you live in, don't forget about this case, and thinking that moving from one prison in the state of Illinois to another prison to Connecticut will say, oh, he doesn't know who he is, and this is a new person. People watch TV. Prisoners watch TV. So they will not forget who this guy is. So the wife felt kind of sympathized that her husband been beaten. But picture Laquan McDonald's family. Picture Laquan McDonald's family losing a 17-year-old every day. Like, he's not going to a prom. He's not going to college. He's not getting married. He's not going to have kids. Picture that. And your husband's alive getting beat up by inmates because they already know who he is. But yet, the same guy that got beat up by inmates is the same guy that killed a 17-year-old black kid. I mean, at least with the wife, she can visit him in prison. The family is not going to see Laquan McDonald because he's deceased. He's gone. So, ladies and gentlemen, it shows that the wife felt sympathetic because of what happened to her husband. But when Laquan McDonald was kind of hurt that they would never see their son again, they can care less. Leave a comment, tell me what you think about this, share this video, subscribe my YouTube channel, subscribe my reaction channel, and subscribe my Black Junction channel for all the news and commentary. With that being said, this is Lions Den signing off. Deuces.